Hello, I'm Scott Felber with Siemens PLM Software. Today we're going to be talking about using NX in the managed environment. What we're going to do today is we're going to design a new bracket for this part, and we're going to show you how being a designer there's no encumbrance of using a managed environment. So first thing we're going to go ahead and create a brand new part. And what we can see when we create these new parts is down here we get the ability to assign the next available part number, the next available revision to it. Just as easy as double clicking and adding them in. We can change certain things that we need to do. This will be called a bracket. We could also do other things, assign it to particular projects so other people can see it and have access to it. So we'll go ahead now and create that part. And now we'll go ahead and begin our modeling task for today to create the bracket. As we can now see, we've completed our modeling task for today. We've modeled up our bracket. We've applied all of our PMI notations to it, so this PMI can now be pushed downstream to other users within the enterprise that need access to that information. In addition, now I can use this PMI to quickly create the documentation and drawings which I need for our parts. So I'll go ahead now and also I'll create a brand new drawing of this part where it automatically will bring this PMI data and lay it onto the drawing. Using our template-based design, we have all the drawings we need. We're going to pick just our border size. Again, we have the ability to assign different attributes to it to populate automatically items and things. So we'll go ahead now and use the drawing wizard, have it bring it in. It's totally aware that it has the PMI. So it's asking what date is this issue, who drew it, who checked it. Again, title box population. We'll look now, it'll show us all the options that are available there. What views do we want? How do we want to go about inheriting our PMI? We'll go ahead and finish that up, get our 4 views out there. As you can see now, with very minimal work, we now have the completed documented drawing that we need for our bracket. So now all we'll do is go ahead and we'll push all this information into our managed vault. The next step we'll do after this now is, because we're the designer in charge of this part, we'll trigger what we'll call a workflow or initiate a process to get this part released into the system so everyone else can have access to it that needs it. And by doing that, we'll never leave NX. We'll go right ahead, we'll go right over to what we call the embedded client within NX, and we'll go ahead now and we'll look for that part we just created, which is actually part number 803, which we'll now go ahead now and look for part 803 that we just created. Again, it brings back that one part, that bracket we just found. We'll now go take a look at what data is with that bracket. We can go now and look at it, take a little bit of the look here. When we look now, we have no release status on it right now. So as a designer, I can now trigger that workflow to get that part released. So what I'll do now here is, within the context of NX, never leaving my CAD tool, what I will do now is I will go and submit this item to a workflow. And that workflow will then release the data. So we're now going to release our data, go ahead and submit that to the workflow process. The appropriate people will now be notified they need to sign off on my work and get it approved. If I go back and look now, after everyone submitted all their approvals and I come back and look at that part, and I can now see it has a release status of approved. So now we know that that part has been approved for use downstream. In addition to working in NX now, what the beauty of doing a managed environment is, now I can now take the data I have, push it out to the rest of the enterprise for everyone else to look at. So for instance now, let's say we're on the manufacturing floor, and the manufacturing people need the information that's included on that part to be able to make that part, machine that part, or things they need to do. So now what we can do now is we can push that data out to the rest of the enterprise so everyone else can see that part, use that part, and get the information from that part. Again, now this is not within the context of NX. This is the Zero Client Install Active Workspace part of TeamCenter. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead now and we're going to go again and look for that part. We know it's 803. We were told we need to do work on part number 803. So I'll go ahead and find that part. When I see it, here it is. I can see a little preview of it. But in addition now, if I'm on the shop floor and I have web access, I can now go look at that part in the viewer. So now, myself as a designer, I don't need to have people coming to my desk all day asking me to look up information for them. The information is available to them at their fingertips. So once this part comes up in the viewer now, I can rotate it around. It's a nice 3D image of it. I can take measurements from it, other things I can do. The one thing I want to do is I want to go look at all the PMI that was included on it, right? Because that's really where all the information is of how I make this part, how do I check this part, other things I can do. So let's go ahead now and look at some of the PMI that's on this part. So now when I look at the part, I can now see certain things. So as people outside of engineering need information to the access, they are now enabled to get to that information to have the access to that access. So now that we've done all the management of the data, pushed out to the enterprise, everything else, it really is of no burden to anyone to do this work on a day-to-day basis, and that's today's NX Quick Tip.